You are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you are welcome here. No matter whom you love or how you speak or whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. Whether you come with laughter in your heart or you're in tears, you are welcome here. Whatever the faiths you have known or the flags of your heritage, you are welcome here. If you come with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands, you are welcome here. We especially want to welcome those who are here for the first time. If you would like to learn more about our community and its online offerings, please go to nsuc.org and sign up for our newsletter. There's never been a better time to get involved or to become a member of the North Shore Unitarian Church. We would love to get you connected.
In Unitarian Universalism, we gather not around a shared creed, but around a covenant. A covenant names our shared values and mutual commitments. Our covenant of right relations is a sacred promise we make of how we intend to treat one another in our NSUC community. And so we open our worship this morning with a summary of our covenant. At NSUC, I have a responsibility to myself, others, church leadership, staff, minister, and the wider community. Therefore, I pledge to take care of myself and ask for support when needed. Treat other members with respect for their beliefs and opinions. Be grateful and appreciative to those who serve in leadership positions. Understand individual staff members' roles and authority. Respect the minister's professional boundaries, vision, and freedom of the pulpit. And work toward greater inclusiveness across generations with sensitivity to class and racial diversity, and to our work for social justice.
This flame affirms the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment.
A covenant is an agreement, a promise that we make to each other about what we're going to do or how we are going to behave. Covenants show up in our lives in all kinds of ways. They help us to work together. Let's take a look at how a covenant might work.
Hi everyone, I'm so glad that we could meet up for game night. Let's start with a game called 5-second rule. To play this game, I will give one of you a topic and then you have 5 seconds to give me 3 examples that go along with that topic. For example, if I say, Chris, tell me 3 fruits that are red, Chris has 5 seconds to answer. He might say, apples, cherries, strawberries. He might just say, it's okay if you can't think of 3 examples, but it'll be fun if we try our best. Are you all ready to play?
Yes.
I'm going first.
Everyone will get a turn. Audrey, are you ready?
Wait, what?
Audrey, are you okay? Are you ready?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, Chris, name 3 rides that you might find in an amusement park.
Apples, cherries, and strawberries.
Elliot, nice enthusiasm. But this will work better if you listen to the question first, and it wasn't your turn.
Fine.
Don't worry, you'll have a turn. Let's try again. Chris, tell me 3. Audrey, would you please mute your microphone? Okay, let's try again. Chris named 3 summer activities.
How about go to a Chicago Sky game? You could ride the rails at the Illinois Railway Museum. You can go hang out at the Bristol Renaissance Fair.
Chris, this isn't really how you play this game. It's okay if you don't have an answer. It's okay to guess. It's fun to guess. No Google.
Oh, okay, sorry. All right.
Guys, let's figure out how to work together so that we can, play.
Well, who's going first? That's what I want to know.
What if we go in alphabetical order? Can you live with that?
I guess.
What else can we do to make the game go smoother? Can we all agree to try our best, even if we don't know? No Google.
Okay, well, what if I don't know the answer? I mean, I want to be able to use my phone.
How about instead of using your phone, you just say pass or ask for another question?
Nice idea.
I can live with that.
And can everyone just stay muted when it isn't their turn?
I like that idea. It's important to listen to what others are saying.
I'll try.
Awesome, let's play.
A covenant is an agreement, a promise that we make to each other about what we're going to do or how we're going to behave. Covenants help us to work together. In this agreement, we might not get everything that we want, like we might not always be able to go first in a game, but when we listen to each other and agree to follow the rules we make together, we are covenanting. If we can work out some agreements, we can work together and have some fun.
North Shore Unitarian Church is a community that is grounded in love, guided by reason, committed to spiritual growth, and striving for justice. We accomplish this mission through the generous donation of our members and friends. And so we invite you to text your donation now. Please note that in order to give, you must include NSUC, the designated fund, and the amount.
When our Healthy Relations team first convened 2.5 years ago, we agreed to begin each meeting with an orienting meditation or prayer. Orienting prayers remind us to be our better selves. In UU terms, they are reminders to live consistently with our 7 principles and to fulfill the promises of our covenant. The first one I adapted from the prayer of St. Francis. May we orient ourselves as follows. Let us be instruments of peace. Where there is hurt, help to heal. Where there is misunderstanding, strive to understand. Where there is alienation, reconnect and recommit. For it is in listening that we are listened to, it is in maintaining confidences that we are trusted, and it is in a loving attitude that our community is made whole again.
Our reading this morning is The Vision of Covenant by the Reverend Gretchen Haley. Covenant is one of those words that can initially sound kind of stuffy, academic, and out of date. But when you unpack its meaning and its practices, covenant holds a whole vision for how to live in this complicated, beautiful, and broken world. It is a vision that says we are most human when we bind ourselves in relationship. But not just any relationship. Relationships of trust, mutual accountability, and continual return. This is not what our culture teaches us. Our culture teaches us that what it means to be human is to be an individual, self-defined, self-determined, separate even. But our UU covenantal theology affirms that being human comes down to the commitments we make to and with each other, the relationships we keep. We become human through our promises to and with each other. And even more than that, covenantal theology doesn't just say that we become human through our promising, but also when we break those promises, and yet somehow find ways to reconnect and begin again. When we repair the relationship because we know we need each other, even when we think the other isn't doing enough, even when the other is annoying us, or isn't listening well, or isn't doing things the way that we would want them done. Even then, when we realize right then that we are still connected, that we can't give up, and so we return and begin again. This beginning again, says our faith, is when the holy and the human meet. And thus ends our reading.
I'm going to tell you this in love. Uh-oh. I thought of this as my sister's words of warning. I'm going to tell you this in love was how she always prefaced a hard truth. Whatever she was going to say next was probably something that I didn't want to hear. Well, that's not really fair. Often she was sharing something I would benefit from hearing. It might be something superficial. You have a giant hole in the back of your tights. Privately bringing to my attention something that could potentially be publicly embarrassing. Other times, it was something as monumental as an eating disorder intervention. Many of us who care deeply about you are concerned that you're not eating. Anywhere along that spectrum of significance, I could feel her intent. I could feel that love that she assured me was behind her words. However, when that phrase led to accountability, when she was going to tell me that my actions or my words had caused harm, the experience didn't feel loving. I remember driving home from an evening youth group gathering. We had had a lesson and group discussion followed by free time. I had had fun conversation with my friends, catching up on the lives of those who went to different schools. And at some point in the evening, I had noticed Allie huddled with a few of her closest friends, but I didn't think anything of it. Absorbed in my own world, I was not alarmed by anything in the tense way that my sister held her body as we walked silently to the car. But as soon as the passenger door shut and I started the engine, that ominous phrase was spoken. I'm going to tell you this in love. She spit the words out. Nothing in her tone sounded like love. When you shared my story that I told you in private in the group discussion tonight, I was embarrassed. I was hurt and angry, and I'm not sure how I can trust you anymore. I wish I could tell you that my next step was to apologize and commit to repairing our relationship. But at 17 years old, I was too self-centered, too certain of my rightness to do anything of the sort. My response was defensive. You're too sensitive. There's nothing embarrassing in your story, and if you didn't want me to share it, you should have told me it was private. And then the meanest sentiment of all. No one cares that much about your life. My understanding of love, of relationship, and what it takes to sustain a relationship was adolescent at best. And it was at war with my self-image and my identity. Accountability is a key component in the genuinely loving relationship of mutuality, of equality, of the kind of relationship that we commit to when we enter into covenant. Covenant is a sacred agreement of how we intend to treat one another. It's a declaration of embodied love, and it is the organizing principle of our faith, of Unitarian Universalism. We bind ourselves to one another. We promise to show respect across differences, whether they are differences of belief and opinion or differences of identity and experience. Within this community, we covenant to live into the compassion and justice that we want to see in the larger world. But the world hasn't taught us to be like that. We live in a society that by design is adversarial and competitive. We are encouraged to rivalry and one-upsmanship. In this society, to be wrong is to lose power. And power, agency, the ability to determine our own future and make the decisions that affect our lives is intimately tied to our identity and our sense of self. To surrender our personal power, to instead share power in a relationship through open, direct communication, through accountability, and through repair and reconciliation is truly countercultural. And for many of us, it can be frightening. We react to protect ourselves, to protect our power. That's how our society has conditioned us to respond. What if accountability wasn't scary? Mia Mingus is a Korean disability rights activist and a trainer for transformative justice. This is the question she always asks about accountability and community. It will never be easy or comfortable, she writes, but what if it wasn't scary? What if our own accountability wasn't something we ran from, but something we ran toward and desired appreciated, held as sacred? What if we cherished opportunities to take accountability as opportunities to practice liberation, to practice love, to practice the kinds of people, elders to be, and souls that we want to be? Accountability is what takes our covenant from aspirational words on a page to life-giving, soul-sustaining, spiritually intimate relationship in which we are invested in each other's thriving and flourishing. When we can give and receive feedback with grace and love, our community can lift one another's gifts to do the work of transforming the world. We learn what it feels like to be free to be ourselves without fear of losing power. When we stumble, we are still held in the love of our community, and we will decide together how to move forward. This is the change we want to see in the world, and we have the opportunity to practice it here first. Many of you know exactly what I'm talking about because you have had that experience in our community. You have felt held and cared for and have your heart tended to by your fellow congregants. You have heard hard truths delivered in love by our leadership. You have given of your power through time, effort, talent, and financial support for our shared mission. You have tasted the potential of covenant. And we are a community of humans. In all our imperfect, fallible humanity, we say and do things that are harmful to others. Members of our community act and speak in a way that hurts us. It's inevitable. Dr. Elias Ortega is the president of Meadville Seminary and a member of the Commission on Institutional Change, and I carry his words on this topic with me. He says, to enter into a covenantal community is to enter into a conversation about the impact of your words and actions. These conversations can be challenging to initiate. You may want to talk over the situation first with a trusted friend, and that's okay. In fact, your healthy relations team, whose members you have seen throughout the service today, is just such a resource. You can reach out to them if you are unsure how to confront someone who has said or done something harmful. How do we tell the truth in love? But I would also caution you, telling the story to many different people leads into gossip. And asking someone else to do the confrontation for you moves us into triangulation. It takes courage to speak directly to someone and say, what you did was painful, and we may not feel practiced or ready. We're all learning this new way to be. If we are to live freely, however, if we are to create a safe and loving community, then we need this feedback from one another. We need each other to speak the truth in love, to let us know when our words and actions are limiting our relationships and limiting the welcome that we want to extend as a community. And this is especially important when we are trying to unlearn the habits of oppression and racism. In an unjust and unequal society, privilege is the power to not consider the impact of our actions on those with less power. In order to honor the inherent worth and dignity of every person, in order to lean into compassion and justice, in order to achieve our goal of world community of peace, those of us with power and privilege must surrender it to mutual accountability with our beloved companions in the work of collective liberation. The words of Martin Luther King Jr. speak directly to this dynamic. What is needed, he said, is a realization that without the power without love is reckless and abusive, and that love without power is sentimental and anemic. Power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice, and justice at its best is love correcting everything that stands against love. My friends, these conversations are hard in the best of times. And in these pandemic times, when we are connecting almost exclusively online, another layer of complexity has been added. Many of us don't express ourselves as well in writing as we do when speaking. And through Zoom, we don't have all the visual clues and body language that we would have in person. Miscommunication is much more likely. And so I encourage you, speak directly and privately to someone if their words are painful. Give the benefit of the doubt. Ask a clarifying question, and if needed, let them know how you felt. In this way, our covenant is renegotiated in real time. We create shared expectations and we recommit to the values of our community. A covenant is a living thing, and it is our lifeline to our church, especially when we can't be together physically. I'm going to tell you this in love. It's not a warning shot. It's a statement of grace. It says, yes, what you did was hurtful, and this may be hard for you to hear. But I want us to continue to be in relationship, and I want that relationship to be strong and healthy. And softening our hearts, receiving this type of feedback, learning to apologize, working to repair harm, these are the offerings of grace as well. This is how we live into love in a covenantal community. May it be so, and blessed be.
We'll go and where we are.
virtual coffee hour will begin in just a few minutes. The Zoom link can be found in our newsletter. But first, by way of closing, I offer these words from the Reverend Krista Tavies. It is our work, shared with each other in covenant, that creates and sustains this beloved community. We extinguish our chalice, but its light lives on in the directions we have chosen today. The light of this faith lives in us, together, in our hearts, minds, bodies, and spirits. Amen, and blessed be.